Now, let's turn to epistemology. So you have a tiny sketch of our view of metaphysics. Epistemology, the key word is reason. Reason. We believe that reason is the only means of knowledge, and thereby we contrast that with mysticism. Mysticism is the view that there is a non-rational, non-sensory means of knowledge. Reason means starting with the senses and then using logic to come to conclusions on its basis. Mysticism means you can dispense with the senses, logic, argumentation. You get a direct, unmediated insight somehow into reality, which could be faith, one form of mysticism, revelation, intuition, ESP, etc., etc. Now, we reject any form of mysticism. Obviously, in this brief overview, I can't give you the detailed arguments that I presented in my book, but just a sketch, sort of a table of contents of objectivism. Now, reason has three crucial elements that are central. As I say, to begin with, reason starts with the evidence of the senses. Seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. We regard those as completely valid and as the foundation of all other knowledge. Therefore, we reject out of hand every idea from the early Greeks on up that suggests that the senses are invalid, that they give us illusions, that we can't tell the senses from hallucinations, that if they were Martians, they would have different senses from us, etc., etc. All that is covered in the objectivist literature, but I'm just giving you a blanket viewpoint. On the basis of sensory observation, human beings have the unique capacity to form concepts or abstractions. And Ayn Rand's book, Introduction to Objectivist Epistemology, is entirely devoted to how to form concepts. And she holds that concepts are also objective. In other words, they are not a product of the arbitrary decree of society, and they are not a revelation from God, as, for instance, Plato and his Christian followers later held. Concepts are our way of organizing sensory data, but they are an objective way, and there are definite rules of forming them, and therefore when you use them properly, you can claim to have objective knowledge. But now to use them properly, you have to put them together using logic. Logic is the method of reason. Logic, of course, was invented by Aristotle, not by objectivism, but we subscribe entirely to Aristotelian logic, the essence of which is you can't have your cake and eat it too. Nothing can be A and non-A at the same time and in the same respect. That's the essence of logical thinking, to put the data together in a way without contradictions. And why can't you have contradictions? Because we're trying to know reality, and the basic principle of reality is A is A. There is no contradictions in reality. Now, the result of using reason as your means to knowledge is that you can rely on the conclusions that you come to. Your knowledge is certain, and we therefore reject skepticism. Skepticism is the idea there are no absolutes, nobody can be certain of anything, it's all a matter of opinion, what's true for you isn't true for me, etc. We reject that entirely. We hold that truth is objective, rational, and that every truth properly understood is an absolute. Even the truth that there are less than 100 people in this room, if you specify time and place, is eternal and immutable. For all time, it'll be true that today, in this room, there are less than 100 people. So far from there being no absolutes, every truth is an absolute, but you must use reason to arrive at the truth. Mystics think that there's truth, but You just have to expose yourself passively to the world, and the truth will write itself on you. Skeptics think the truth, if there is any truth, is really just inside your head. It's subjective, and it varies from person to person. You really can never know an outside reality. Objectivism holds the truth lies in the proper relation between your mind and reality, between consciousness and existence. You have to look out to get the truth, not look in. But you can't just look out and wait for a dogma to strike you, a la mysticism. You have to look out and work, use the correct method. And the method, as I tried to indicate, is observation, concept formation, and logic, rather than just waiting passively for an illumination. And then you will be given guaranteed knowledge. What about emotions, you ask? And we say emotions follow from your convictions. They are fine, and you should enjoy them as much as you can, but they are not means of knowledge. The fact that you feel strongly that 2 and 2 make 6 does not count. All right, now let us go to